few questions around how you sort of monitor for any changes and how you might sort of do that in practice. Maybe I can come to you first, Geeta, on this. How do you go about sort of monitoring clients of your sort of existing relationships and over time?
So, well, it's up to, I think, organizations' policy and procedure. How do they want to monitor? So it could be at a time when they're establishing a new business relationship, let's say with the same existing client. Or, for example, I don't know, they periodically, if it's a higher risk client, you might be periodically double checking and checking. So it really depends on our organization's risk and the risk-based approach. How in depth do you want to monitor? I would say probably as a best practice, and my advice would be for lettings. So at this point, how to monitor probably for existing clients would be anytime you entering into new business relationship with them, either with the landlord entering into a new completely business relationship, or for example with the tenant with his renewal, or a rent review, which will be after tenancy bill goes through. So anytime you have a new something going on with the client, I would say that's how when you should really review your existing file and see is there anything changed in your customer circumstances that you need to be aware of, including sanctions.
I think the thing to just add to that is that sanctions, again, is very different to other types of risk, and they change overnight. And I did mention briefly there that people's awareness of sanctions has become very different to when I first started out, just because of, like, say, the world we live in and the Ukraine and Russia situation. Sanctions is something that we hear about a lot. And I think what we saw off the back of that is change is fast. The pace of sanctions change, and actually keeping up to date is very difficult. So thinking about how you can support yourself best with that, whether that is via technology or another process, but just that awareness that just because you did a check yesterday doesn't mean that it'll be the same result today. And so, yeah, just being alive to the fact that we're aware of how fast-paced the world is, and unfortunately sanctions keep pace with the world, and yeah, you can't guarantee that results remain accurate for a long period of time. It's not like when you check somebody's address and you think you've got a little bit of a comfort blanket, you know they're not necessarily moving and those kind of things, or somebody's identity, it's not quite as easy to change, whereas with sanctions, it is very quick. And yeah, keeping up is pretty hard. And at the height of the invasion, there was a lot of firms really struggling with that and the pace of movement and things like that. So there's a lot out there. But yeah, that'd be all I'd add is just be alive to the fact that sanctions change very quickly.
Yeah. As I said at the start, I will do a sort of short demo towards the end of this session as well, and we can cover a little bit about how technology can help with some of that monitoring as well.